Hey guys, so here's the gear for today. A couple of awesome things that I know work well, and a couple of new things to me. And we'll start with the stuff that I know about. This is that big 35 millimeter Thader uh, two-band brush, and wow, and it's been soaking for a long time. So man, those tips are guaranteed to be as soft as they're ever going to get. I let it soak for longer than I wanted to. And of course, the Nacet is a favorite blade of mine, works in many razors. We're going to be shaving off a 2-day growth. It might even be 3 at this point, honestly. Um, and I'm sure it'll be up to the task. It might even be a fresh blade. And then the things that are new to me. Extro is the soap. And if you're wondering, this little oval up here is the part that says Extro. And then other parts say Crema de Barba Artisanal, and the translation or other information 100% vegetal con olio de jojoba. And of course, that means vegetable based soap with jojoba oil, if I'm pronouncing jojoba correctly. And the scent there in the bottom center is vetiver. I'm a big vetiver fan in many, many cases. This is, I'm almost sure this is the same glass jar that MDC used to use for such a long time. And a lot of the product's been used. This was a freebie sent to me by the guy I bought the Taiga Homelike shaving Taiga razor. I'm going to make another short video to kind of talk a little bit more about the razor so I don't fill this video up with that information. But this is my first time trying it. It's a stainless steel. This is version 2, and I'm looking forward to it. And he just was so kind. He sent me this soap. And it was really cool because number one, he guessed at a scent that I really like. He didn't know anything about me, probably. And so that was fortuitous, right? And then secondly, I've never tried an Extro soap before at all. Made in Italy. I have seen this photograph browsing forums like on Facebook, buy, sell, trade type areas online. And I've definitely seen this artwork. And so that part's familiar, but I've never tried Extro before. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, this brush is so big. It's kind of bigger than the jar. And so I feel like if I'm going to push the brush in there, all I can do is kind of twist. So I'm going to scoop. That way I also make sure I get enough soap for the shave, most likely. And then I'm also able to see how much lather X amount of soap will generate. And that lets me to compare it with other soaps. So we'll get out the little scooper, take care of that in a minute. First, just a quick, going to put the blade in the razor. This handle and especially the knob here being kind of the same, being ridges here and the same width as this, and then the dial being up here, it definitely harkens to the Gibbs adjustable razor, a French razor. Now this Homelike shaving here is Russian. This is all stainless steel. I've seen photographs where it can easily be disassembled. How cool is that? The fat boys and stuff, you'd have to have some tools to disassemble them. You'd even, with some models, have to uncrimp and then recrimp to service it and then put it back together. This, not necessary. And it looks like you can easily make the adjustment. And look at that. Look at that, how big of a gap you can add if you want to. Now, I don't think anybody's going to want that kind of a gap. And you're actually going more than maybe 2 times around. But, I mean, I guess it's possible if you're just you love aggressive shaves to do that if you want. But with even though the fat boys and the slims, authoritative people have said it's not a big deal to adjust the setting when everything's tightened down. Feels wrong to me. I can kind of feel maybe some tension happening. And so, but with this guy, It's easy to move, and so you don't really think that's happening. Obviously, there's a spring in there that's holding everything. I wonder if I, no, okay. Okay, now if I did that, could I, oh yeah, see, if I open it up all the way, see there's that spring that's pushing the base plate down away from the top cap. And so then I can move it by pushing forward, pressure up. Okay, so we'll tighten everything down. Now, where do we want to set the tension here? Right now we're on a 1. You do have a dot. Let's just start out with 3. It goes all the way up to, I guess, 6. It goes to 5, and then 5.5, and then 1 again. And so I guess you can make that a 6. And of course, you can go around again. We'll just see. I don't think I'll ever go that high. We'll start with a 3 since I have a lot of growth and just see what happens. Okay, now that that's set, just like the Gibbs, we have the thread from the top cap comes down into this here. So then the top cap would loosen up, and that kind of looks like some of the kind of 2-piece Gillette models, right? And just so I don't drop anything on ceramic, I'm going to set it down while I take the Nacet. Yeah, it's fresh. Yes, I don't often have to deal with these glue bumps since I'm just kind of renowned for using a blade many times. The little waxy dots, you know, that fasten the blade into the envelope. I don't have to deal with those too often. So brand new Nacet. And then just like with any other razor, we've got those long rails there that go down into the base plate. And then I did notice, like the Parker variant, it does have a mark on one end, does not have it on this end. It has a mark there, and that's just has to coincide with a mark over there, because otherwise the adjustments wouldn't be correct. They would be kind of half a turn off. So let's tighten everything back down. Now the center of gravity here is a little more toward the head than I might like. It's kind of a heavy razor, so in a sense I don't want to maybe have a longer handle or a more girthy handle. Then you might kind of end up with the pearl flexi, you know. But it's got some substantial weight to it. The center of balance is not quite right here before you get to the adjustment ring. It's kind of right on that first bevel of the adjustment ring. The knurling here is not very aggressive at all. It's very comfortable, and you wonder actually if it's going to be holdable and secure during the shave actually. Now I could also take a look at the exposure here. You know, let's dial it back to a 2. And that still actually looks like a positive exposure. But, and it looks like there's a good bit of gap. Now, of course, we know that gap is not the only measure of aggression. All depends on where the safety bar comes and the top cap as well. How far they stick out. That controls the exposure as well. All right. Now it's time to scoop out. So this is a vegan soap. I'm going to compress the soap here down in. And so this is really pretty. Now, is that a brush hair? Yeah, it looks like he left a he left a brush hair for me to dig out. All right. Hey, if you're going to give me a free soap, then I'll dig out some brush hairs. I don't have a problem with that. Went ahead and added just a little bit more, a slightly rounded, you know, amount of soap here. A very easygoing. It's not a dark vetiver type scent. It's kind of light. And then I'm going to press that into the bottom of my lather bowl. Now this is a pretty firm soap, and so it had to be pressed into kind of small amounts. And it sometimes when you have a more loose soap bordering on a cream, you'll see it smeared all over everywhere. But here it was just very easy to compress it down into a little layer. Now if these little sections here are too thick, it might take a while to work that up into the lather, in which case maybe split it up next time you do it and fill in some of these other areas as well to have a more thin layer of soap to work on. Get my face wet now. Start to soften up those whiskers. And now we know that the brush is aching. It's been soaking for like 24 hours. I didn't mean for that to happen. Probably not going to hurt it at all. And this thing holds a lot of water. Let's just get going. I'm not going to take the time to try to shake all the water out. I may not actually need, because of all the water in the brush, I may not need to add any water to this lather at all. This is a big chubby handle. Fortunately, it's long enough. Oh, look at this. Is so soupy. This will be interesting. I am rarely ever dealing with a lather with this much water in it. I got a feeling that even more water came out of the brush. Perhaps in this case, I should have maybe given the brush a squeeze, which I never need to do. This may not be a very good evaluation of Extro soap. We'll just have to see what happens with the lather. That is just so wet. Soup. That's my fault. Should have known. Tons of air and bubbles in there. Nice light vetiver scent coming up from it. I'm not trying to win any awards in scent design, just make something pleasant. Now it is starting to lose some of the bubbles in certain places. Yep, it is getting there, but you know what let's do? Let's add some more soap to kind of thin down the herd a little bit. Now that I've got some in there already, yeah, now let's go in and kind of, yeah, see, there's not any room for this to work. So we'll just have to do that twisting maneuver and see if that helps. Now we've got a little bit of concentrate there on the tips. And let's just see if it integrates and starts to kind of thicken up the lather. And remember, if you don't have time to watch the lather come together in real time, you can hit that gear icon on the video itself and choose the playback speed. 1.5 is about as fast as you go, where you still have a good likelihood of understanding words. 1.25, you can pretty much understand everything easily, but you're not going to cover as much ground as quickly. Now I can feel the backbone of this brush, and it's because the lather's so thin. one thing we can learn from a thin lather, if I had a sink here, I might have just poured it out by now. But something we can learn from a thin lather is if the soap is good quality, if it's top notch, then it can be over wet and still provide some nice slickness and protection. That is, I don't even know if there's, I can't lift up any of the lather because nothing is really staying on the brush. I don't think you've ever seen me with a wetter lather than that. Let's just use it and see what happens. Yep, just a nice scent there. Now, since it's so wet, okay, one of the things I do to tweak my lather is to either leave my face after the rinses, leave it dripping wet if I want to add a little bit more water to the lather. If I want to take some away, then I'll just kind of blot it dry with a towel. Obviously, I'm going to be doing that between each pass. So, big old brush. Oh man. Not going to press it too hard because I'm kind of afraid a whole flood load of water is going to just drop down on everything. Just kind of work it in gradually. This brush here became a instant favorite after I just used it a couple times. And then kind of took a little bit of a back seat as I was working on some other brushes, bringing them into the fold. And then I got my B13s in. The thing about the B13 was that when it came time for me to try to get a second one, it had already been discontinued. And so I felt like, boy, if I need to figure out kind of quickly if I'm going to like the B13, because now's a chance before they really kind of become unobtainium to get one at a good price. Now, do you see what's happening here? You veteran shavers have probably noticed already. We're not dripping. What you see at the corners of the brush, around my goatee here, it's actually starting to be kind of pasty and need more water. So this, all that water was preventing the soap really from kind of coming off the brush and getting mixed in. It just would have taken a lot more mixing, whereas coming to the face with it and having this much stubble on, I think that helped with the mixing. Just look at the texture of what's on my chin. Can you see that? That is definitely proof that this lather is not too wet. Look at that. It's not sliding. This may end up to be a really nice lather. Now I'm going to dip in and kind of get some more of the wet stuff and kind of put it on my face. See if maybe that'll combine. Yeah, this is not too wet. That's very weird. I guess it just didn't really have too much of a chance. Maybe the density here of this brush, just the lather didn't have time to come together in the bowl. And look at that kind of excess Yeah, man, I've got tons of. I'm gonna have 4 shaves of worth of lather here in the bowl. Well, I think I've worked it on my face long enough. Oh, hey, got my COVID booster today, the third one, third shot total. And when I first got it, when I first got shots 1 and 2, we at the time we didn't know that we needed the booster. But in recent months here, at the end of 2020, now we're in January of 2022. I'm sorry, at the end of 2021, and now in January of 2022, we now realized, I believe, people should get boosters. And so I went in and got mine. This time I did not get it in my dominant arm, so I can mouse and use the everything with my good arm without being sore. And sure, it'll be sore for a couple days, but big deal. Compared to not dying of COVID, I'll take it. All right, so we did switch back to the setting of 2. It does not have click points, and so you could set it for an infinite range between 1 and 2, or any 2 digits. It did seem like it's not going to be a ring that moves while I'm using the razor. It doesn't seem to be that loose. All right, here we go. First time trying the stainless steel Taiga, Taiga. I assume that's how you pronounce it. From Homelike Shaving, a Russian company. I've heard really good reports. The guy who sold this to me said that he'll only let it go because he bought the satin version of this same razor and he liked that one better. Otherwise, he really enjoyed this. With wet fingers, it decreases the grip just a little bit, but it still feels pretty safe. It feels kind of clunky with the top heavy nature of it here. But often I find that a top heavy razor turns neutral once you get it on your face and you start working. Let's just see what happens here. Oh, that's got some bite to it. Now we are shaving off a good bit of stubble. But you know what let's do? Let's switch it back down. Oh, it won't even go down to a 1. Let's just put it at its most mild setting. Because after all, you kind of need to know when a razor, how a razor is going to behave for you if you do happen to have multiple days of growth. Now, the blade trajectory here, the arc of the blade seems to be kind of minimal. Definitely other razors that will give it more bend, and so the blade is coming out the side here with a more downward angle. Vetiver, I think, maybe Timeless. And so this one might need to have a more open handle angle to keep with that smaller blade angle. Not hearing very much chatter. I like that. Nice firm control on the blade. I want to definitely stick with, since I'm kind of getting some tugging here, with the grain passes for sure. Definitely some irritation because of that tugginess. And I can take some of that extra lather there and is some of this discomfort because of the lather? No, I don't think so. It feels really good. It feels nice and slick. A little water on my face, kind of clear away some of this lather. I'm a sucker for stainless steel, all stainless steel, adjustable razor. So, oh, you know what? I don't need to dab this. You know why? Because as we were watching that lather kind of gather up on my face. It wasn't too wet. Okay, cool. Gripping the razor during that first pass was not an issue like I talked about, and it was true that during the actual shave, the top heaviness was kind of mitigated and it just kind of disappeared. We are still at the lowest setting. Now let's do a cross grain. Oh, now that's comfy. The Nacet is in its first use, and so it can also get a little bit more comfy on the second, with another shave under its belt. So I think that first pass did knock down a good bit of the hair, and so this is very comfortable. I do like an adjustable that has a mild nature to it. You can put it down at the lower settings and get a smooth, mild, comfy shave. I do like it when they... Now it's not miraculously mild here. You definitely still have some blade feel. There we go, just kind of a quick pass. Now rinse. The Gibbs adjustable, a certain version of the Gibbs adjustable, the 17, there are two different makes of it that I was able to see, and one of them is super smooth and the other one is not as smooth. The one that's smooth, I could kind of use between 1 and 6. I could use 1 all the way up to maybe 4 or 5, and it was still smooth and didn't have a lot of aggression. This guy gave me a little blade feel at 1, and so it doesn't seem to be quite in the smooth camp as the Gibbs. And let's put on the third pass of lather. So I do look forward definitely to trying this razor out in a more normal scenario, not only with a normal growth beard, but also a blade that's not in its first use. Man, I've got enough lather for the rest of the week right there. Cross grain again. Doesn't feel too heavy while I'm working it here on the face. Now it does feel super smooth here now that I've taken down so much growth. So my first impression here, my first guess is that this may be an adjustable, especially suited for folks who like an adjustable that's prone to the aggressive range. And that's not me, most likely. But that's just a guess. That's an educated guess at this point. This is version 2. I think I said that, but just in case I haven't. The first version came out with I think the open comb as well as the solid bar. But if it shaves kind of like this one, I don't mind not having the open comb. I am enjoying the firm hold. I was looking at the anatomy of it. The bottom base plate that supports the bottom edge of the blade, it does come out just as far as the top cap does. So that's why you're not hearing a whole lot of blade chatter and audio. It's got a firm hold on it. Okay, so that's the third pass. And I think I'll probably be glad that I clocked it down to, one of its lowest possible setting. So I'm still enjoying the light scent here. I do like darker scents, especially in the winter, but this is a nice change for that. It would definitely be at home kind of any time, but especially like in the spring and the summer and that kind of thing. And rinse. Well, I am glad I chose to dial it back some in terms of aggression, because it still ended up giving me a very close shave, even in my trouble spots here. And so I think that'll be my effort with this razor, is dwell in those kind of bottom ranges and see if my comfort zone lies within there. Make sure I do it with a blade that's not super rough. That's not that doesn't really have a kind of a harsh tendency to it. The feather might be a little bit too much for me in this blade, at least a fairly newish feather in this razor, I meant to say. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll keep playing around with it. Like I said, can be a totally different razor when you have it on the 1 day growth instead of 2.5, or maybe even 3. I can't remember honestly. And the soap seemed to do a good job. It seems like it's a good soap. My face doesn't feel dry afterwards with the evaporation of the lather, with the water now kind of evaporating. It feels like a good quality soap. I haven't checked the price range of the Extro to see if it's rating itself as a super high type of formula, or and kind of exclusive and all that mess. You do get 150 milliliters, 5 ounces in this type of glass jar. See if we have any ingredients that are kind of crazy. Water is the first ingredient. Stearic acid, cocos nucifera oil, potassium hydroxide, a butter, a cacao extract, calendula, okay, a chinesis oil, and then parfum. So it looks like they're focusing kind of on the simplistic, ingredients, maybe ones that help your skin, and not trying to fill it with a bunch of kind of extra stuff. So that's kind of cool. Obviously, they're going for maybe a perception of quality with that super heavy glass jar. The lids kind of, I mean, they could use some improvement there. But not saying that guy sucks, but if I was selling soap, I wouldn't put a picture of me on it. But yeah, how about that? It sure was wonderful trying the Extro. And I'll have to look, and if it's a low price soap, I might have to look at some of the other offerings they have to see what else may be out there. So that's the Extro. Let's kind of feel it, because I've got so much of it. See, now look at it, it behaves differently now. It wasn't doing that earlier. It was a lot more loose. So let's see what we're feeling like here. There is a wateriness that makes you think that the slickness is going to go away pretty quickly. But then I think it must be that jojoba oil and maybe that butter that is left on there that does leave kind of a thin fuzziness behind to do the job. And it does have a lot of micro bubbles, but definitely not going to fault the soap at this point. It was my fault for bringing in too much water early on. And so I definitely look forward to trying this soap again with a little bit better formulation, not loading it down with water quite so quickly. And we'll see what we get. All right. The razor, I kind of expected it to be a little nicer. I didn't expect to have to dial it down to 1 kind of right away. But that flat trajectory and that kind of increased blade gap there does make sense, that it's not one that necessarily dwells in the mild land and gives you lots of leeway to play around with mild settings, which is kind of good, because there are definitely other razors out there to give you the mild shaves. It's visually, it didn't impress me too much. I I don't like necessarily the look of the adjustment knob here with kind of the diamond striations, the thickness right here, and then thin the rest of the way. But that's, of course, a subjective thing. The fit and finish seems to be top notch. Fit and finish, I would say, is far above the Rex razors and uh, like the Rocknell, that sort of thing. Just very nice polish, exemplary. So it looks like we do have a skilled craftsman putting this stuff together. And look how thin that base plate is. And we're talking the safety bar part is on the bottom, and then the part that holds up the blade there is next. So yeah, they've got a great design here. 3-piece, and looking forward to more shaves with it. And if it just happens to not match me, like if it doesn't let me sit easily down in a comfortable, smooth area, then that's okay. It just wasn't made for me, right? But it'll be fun playing around with it and just to see. All right. All right, cool. So what are we going to use as a post shave? Vetiver and Oud. Sounds good to me. Via Stirling's Agar. That's an Oud type scent. And let me splash a little bit of water just to kind of help the balm to not really have any friction as it applies, and not to be too thick. It is the winter, and so sometimes the dryness does make balms extra fun in the winter and kind of extra needed. And I don't think I put on quite as much as I need for the full beard treatment here. Just a little bit more. Very happy with the closeness. And of course, just because the Nacet is a favorite razor of mine, razor blade, in a lot of razors, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the best one in this razor. So I'll try other blades as well. Oh yeah, I think that Oud and Vetiver work very well together. Happy with that. Yeah, I didn't have to add any water. I had my jigger here nearby. I didn't have to add any water. Oh goodness, my goodness. What a shave. Okay. Love the brush. Gonna have fun trying the soap more. Gonna have fun trying the razor more. Yeah, the Agar and the Vetiver working very nicely together. And the blade, it'll be great to, now that we've got that first use hump away, it'll be a nicer blade tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe I'll redo a lot of these same elements tomorrow and put them in the right, and learn the lessons that I learned today. So, first impression of Extro. I'm going to put aside how I kind of screwed it up by adding too much water. And I'm going to say that first impression is good. For a vegan soap, it looks like it might put together, I'll be able to put together a nice lather with it later. And how nice of the one who sold me the Taiga to send that along. Just wonderful. And he did a great job of giving plenty of wrapping around the razor and the soap, because he was sending it from, I think, France. And it had a long ways to go, and the box ended up kind of crumpled a little bit. But because he gave enough room, because he wrapped it in bubble wrap, it was in perfect condition. Give you a quick look at the box that it came in. He kept the box. And this may be Russian for bear. I'm not really sure. I think I read that somewhere. And then it kind of comes off pedestal style. And it's got a little card here, lifetime warranty. That's pretty cool. And then the foam can be pulled down, and then you get the little compartment for the razor. So, pretty nice little presentation here. We're going to keep the razor out because I want to enjoy using it. I'll give it a shot. Homelike has another razor that I'm interested in, and if it ever comes up on the used market, it's a fixed blade. It's not adjustable, but they have different plates, I think. I can't remember the name of it, but we'll see. We'll see if one ever comes up. And the good news is, with this razor, I could kind of say I like it. I like the Taiga at a setting of 1.5. And then a person could take that other Homelike razor, and maybe we could talk about it if they've also used the Taiga, be able to use that common lingo there. And so then I could learn perhaps what that other razor, whether it's kind of geared like the Taiga, or maybe it holds the blade differently, maybe it bends it more, something like that. All right. Skin feels very good right now. So it looks like that is a soap that is kind and nourishing to your skin. Very nice. One thing I've got coming for you, I'll get some parts. I decided to make a razor rack. I've got a big collection. I want them to be, I don't want them to be hidden away in drawers, which is kind of how I had them before. I want them to be seen so that when it comes, I don't have to pull out like 6 or 8 razors and just let that be the ones I work on for a while. You know, I want to walk up to the big kind of wall of razors and pull out the one I want. It needs to be strong. It doesn't need to be fancy. If this is a proof of concept, then so be it. And then I can always refine it later. But let's have something. And so I bought, I believe these are called 1x3s or something like that, 1x2s. And there are 3 that are this length right here. And then there are 2 that are longer than this. And that's because these are the horizontals. And then the longer ones are verticals, and there will be 3 shelves. And then I did some math, and I calculated so that I could fit 10 holes on each shelf. And I'm going to drill them out with enough space to put the handles of the razors down in there, and they'll just hang. And then this will have the holes as well. And so with 10 on each shelf, with 3 shelves per unit, that's 30 razors per unit. And I made the width of the crossbars and the height. All this works out to less than 6 feet, which is a length of this 1x2 that I was able to get at my local hardware store that was easy to transport even in my small sedan. And so I think it could be very doable for a lot of people. And I did buy some wood glue as well, but of course I'm going to use screws and stuff to screw the vertical pieces in there. And that'll be fun. And we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you informed. Of course, I'll probably do a video on it. And I think that'll be fun. I should be able to then look and choose my razor, pull it out, that kind of thing. Organize them, that kind of thing. Keep some of my favorites from being lost in the crowd, that sort of thing. Well, there we go. That's today's time. And I hope that you guys enjoyed the shave, and I hope that you got something out of it. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, picking up my little Nacet, putting it back in its envelope, and we'll let him wait for tomorrow. And this is not my legendary Nacet. This is not the one that's 450 uses, and so I'll just put 1 tick mark on there for 1 use, and when it gets to 10 or 12 uses, then I'll pitch it, put on a new one. But that'll be fun to try tomorrow. And maybe I'll try the Extro again. So I have in my mind, I have a good view, a good opinion, a proper opinion of the soap. All right, there we go. Take care now. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.